Hi there, and welcome to the English department at Long Road Sixth Form College. This is the best we can do, obviously, in the current situation, but welcome to the website, I guess. I'm going to be talking to you today about the English language and literature combined A-level. I'll also talk about how it's different from the lit one, so don't worry. If you're in the wrong video, continue watching, you might be persuaded. I'm Emma Harpley. I am the course team leader for the English language and literature combined A-level. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of what the course is like, what texts we study, the kind of things that we look into on this A-level to help you make your decision if you're considering coming to study English here at Long Road. And there should be some student videos associated with this, so at the end of the video please do go and have a little listen to what they have to say, because they really do a wonderful job selling the course at our real life event open evenings. We're very sad to not be able to give you that this year, so do please have a look at those. Meanwhile, let me share my screen with you, hopefully, and I'll talk you through the course. So yes, we are the English language and literature course. The key differences then between what we do and what the literature course does is that literature, all of the texts that we study on that course are fiction, so they're all made up, which is obviously not to detract from their importance in the world. Obviously the course covers all text types of fiction, which is prose, books, novels, so drama and poetry as well. And all the texts that you study, oh, that's not true. There are, yes, it is. They're whole texts on the lit course. Sorry, we've just changed spec. It's confusing. Obviously, much more detail and correct information on the literature course. So do, when you've finished here, go and have a look at that, please. The Lang Lit course then, how it's different is that on our course, we actually have a mix of both fiction and non-fiction texts. So we look at real life words. It might be reviews, journalism, even receipts. A receipt counts as a text that would be worthy of our analysis. Similar to lit, we cover, of course, all of the fiction ranges of prose, poetry and drama. We do look at whole texts like literature, but we also study extracts. So it's very broad what we do on lit, Lang and lit combined. And it is still a very lit oriented course. There are those extra bits, but a lot of the texts that we do are literature oriented, which I'll come to in a mo. So overall, our exam board is EDUCAS. The big picture of the course is that there are 4 assessment components. So that's 3 exams and 1 coursework portfolio, which in the biz we call the non-examined assessment, NEA. So your first exam is poetry and prose. So the prose that we do is The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. Very topical at the moment. Amazing work that we're doing with students at the moment, because of course issues of race are just absolutely everywhere at the moment. Lots of change happening. We also look at a vast collection of poetry across time. So I've got a little picture there of the passionate shepherd to his love, and Lord Byron. Just to encapsulate, it's a whole about 40 different poems, all different poets from Shakespeare up until 1914. So you've got everything covered there, a really broad and diverse range of poetry for us to get our teeth into. And on both of these texts, we also learn about the context. So the themes, the issues, the biographies of the authors, historical context, social context, economic context, like what was going on in the world at the time that this text was created, that it's really important to us to understand, to help us obviously understand the breadth of what's going on in the text and how we receive it today as well. That's another key element of the context. You know, how is the context different today that we might receive the text differently from when it was created? The second exam is focused on drama. Ancient and modern. So we do 1 Shakespeare text, which is Othello. Again, really, really diverse text, issues of gosh, so many things to do with race and the male and female roles, hierarchy, class, gender, betrayal. I mean, there's everything in Othello, isn't there? There's just like love and lust and betrayal and death and I hope that's not a spoiler. I would hope that you would know that much. So that's glorious. We do some focused extract analysis on Othello, and also then a more broad essay based on a theme that you would get given in the exam. And then the modern drama text that we do is currently The History Boys by Alan Bennett. You may have seen the film. It's just glorious. Everybody loves it. It's about a bunch of students post sixth form. So it was a wonderful text to do during your sixth form time. I think a lot of the issues are kind of quite real, and it's just wonderful. It's so real and honest and raw, and it's a really popular play. We really enjoy studying that together. That exam is 30% of your A level, and then the final exam is non-literary texts. So it's worth me pointing out actually that these previous two, these are quite literary. These are all, you know, poetry and prose. That's obviously all literature. These are both literature as well. So it's this final component that brings in the language element. So we've got Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, which is a curious new blend really of fact and fiction. It's a true crime novel, but written in a very literary style. So it's a curious blend, as I say, of fact and fiction. So there's a lot of really rich elements for us to investigate there. Themes of justice, mental ill health, homosexuality, life in America, I guess, in the 1960s, the justice system, the death penalty. A lot of really interesting topics to get our teeth into with that. And of course, the actual writing style is super interesting as well. And then the spoken language is the final component of this exam, where we look at how spoken language is kind of created with accents and dialect with people from different places, how stress and intonation and pauses create meaning. I won't do an accent for you, but we do have a lot of fun just finding meaning in all of these things. And that's that exam, which is worth 20% of your A levels. That one's worth a little bit less than the other two. Still with me? The final component then is the NEA. Do you remember what that stands for? So this is a portfolio of 3 related pieces of writing that you will do. One is an in-depth comparative analysis essay on 2 texts that you have chosen in a chosen genre. And there's a huge range of genres. Within the genres, there's a huge range of texts available to you. I have got some more detail on that to show you in a second. I know you're excited to find out. The other 2 pieces of writing are related creative writing. So one of them will be fiction. I've got a student currently thinking about doing a poem, which is exciting for the exam board. No one's done that before. Normally it's a short story or an introductory chapter to a novel of the chosen genre. And then one non-fiction one that again relates to that same theme. So we did the Gothic genre last year, and some students would have done Frankenstein and the Woman in Black, for example, as their comparative analysis essay, and wrote a review of a production that we saw that was Gothic, a theatre production. And then it wrote the opening chapter of a Gothic short story for their creative piece. Huge range of options available, so you really get to explore in a much more independent way your own genre area of interest, which is a really exciting part about this course. So a bit more detail then on the genre study. The longer essay is this one, so it's a sort of 1,500 word essay. It's actually not that long, people. Based on a prose text, so your novel, which you get to select from a vast and glorious list. More on that in a sec. And related wider reading, which excitingly you get to pick what that is. We'll have a chat about it, you and your teacher, to sort of make sure that it's rich enough to, you know, get you the points in your analysis. But basically, to a degree, whatever you want to compare it to, you get to. So that's really exciting element of the course. So here are the genres that of course cover both literary and non-literary areas, because we are Langlit combined. So I've got Gothic, science fiction, romance, dystopia, crime, satire and comedy, historical fiction, war and conflict, adventure, journeys, life writing, journalism, travel, and identity or the outsider. So obviously some of those more recent ones on the right, more the kind of non-literary genre. So huge range, and it, as I say, students really enjoy getting to deal with that and make their own choices. So I said I would give you some examples from the vast and glorious list. So for each of these genres, there is a huge list of primary comparison texts. So for example, I've just pulled up the Gothic and the science fiction to show you. I will give you a moment to have a little look at those. But all really popular, really well-known texts, really iconic, really, within their genres. So during the reading of those texts, students obviously learn how the masters have used the conventions within each genre that then, of course, they use in their own creative pieces to show that not only can they, read and analyze other people using certain concepts, terminology, ideologies that fit a particular genre, but they can actually use them as well. And that's great fun and actually a really good way of learning about them in order to analyze. Give something a go. It's always the quickest way to learn something, isn't it? So on to the next two pieces of creative writing then. As I say, that is one fiction and one non-fiction. These are shorter pieces of writing, both of them. As I said, informed by the research and study that you've completed for the genre study. And it's a great opportunity for students to demonstrate how you create language for different purposes and audiences. Obviously, you've got the fiction and the non-fiction, very different audiences. And students really, really get excited and passionate about this part of the course, equal to everything else that they adore. So obviously, because we study drama, we go to the theatre. We go across Cambridge and London, really, whenever one of the plays that we're studying is on, we'll go and see it, because of course we are studying a play, a live play. Obviously in the classroom we read it together, we act out bits and we discuss things and we talk about, this is where the spoken language element actually of this course is really wonderful, because that's so enhanced by the delivery of a particular speech in Othello, for example. It's not just the words on the paper, and I think when we see it performed live, we really get the idea of actually that there's so much meaning and so much understanding comes from the rhythm and the pace and the staging and so much else, so many other messages that we're getting on stage that help us to understand, rather than just words on a piece of paper. It's not what drama is. So obviously we get that in as much as we possibly can, because it's fundamental and fun. Progression and careers then. What do our students go on to do after studying English language and literature? Well, obviously a whole range of things, but I've just pulled up a selection here for you. Obviously lots of different English related degrees that they can go on to study. You can see there on my PowerPoint, I've got a few English related ones on the left, morphing into kind of media and film, obviously theatre, they've loved the drama that much, journalism, and then of course other things as well, psychology, education, and law, of course, because the skills that we do in English are wonderfully adaptable and usable in all manner of different things in life that you do after studying as a student. Transferable skills, useful in absolutely everything. And I think law's a good one in terms of the discussion skills, the empathy skills, and the argument skills in our essay writing, and just communicating clearly, which I'm struggling with. Where are they studying? In front of you, a selection of the kind of places where our students go and study. King's College London, University of Kent, University of Brighton, Liverpool, Anglia Ruskin, Leeds, Royal Holloway, University of London, UCL, Aberystwyth, anywhere and everywhere, I think is really a way of summarising what and where you can go after English. It really expands your skills, your research, time management, expression, so many skills that get improved with English study. So I would say study English language and literature if you enjoy reading. You enjoy analysing both fiction and non-fiction texts. If non-fiction isn't for you, I mean, explore it first. Don't just, you know, dismiss it. But then perhaps lit is more you if you're not so excited by non-fiction texts about the hidden meaning in a receipt. You enjoy learning about the different contexts behind texts. That's a really important place where we find meaning in our texts. If you enjoy watching plays, if you're interested in themes and the wider world around us, everything Shakespeare had to say is just as relevant today. It's quite phenomenal. So obviously we don't just read books in a chasm and that don't go anywhere else. Everything in literature, you know, it has meaning, and obviously the non-fiction stuff has meaning because it's non-fiction. So just seeing texts everywhere, you know, being aware that the communication that's going on in our modern world is everywhere, and actually being able to discern the messages gives us power. If you enjoy creative writing, of course, because we've got that element on the NEA, study with us if you're interested in how spoken language is constructed, and study with us if you're interested in learning how meaning is created, really, pretty broadly, across a range of texts. That's what our business is in English. But you don't have to take it from me. I've got a range of brilliant students to make you little videos on what they think of the course, what they have enjoyed about it. So there should be a range of videos linked to this one for you to just have a little listen to them. We've got students from year 1 and year 2. Yeah, so do have a little listen to them, see what they have to say. And thank you very much for listening. If you do have any questions, get in touch with the college and they can forward them to me. Thank you very much. Let me just put my screen back. Here we go. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful. Good luck with your research, and I wish you well, and I hope that you do come to Long Road.